still a worthwhile prospect.
Yeah, unless Sponge is going to first pick it, which would make sense, I suppose. But if you let Owner have it, I might let DRX have it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There's a bit of a danger here, as the Vi is going to be banned away, so now it feels safer to ban the Xin if you'd like to. See whether DRX do feel like it, because it could otherwise be a look towards Gumyushi's champion pool. You could just ban Varus and try and pick something a little bit better for Lazy Feel. I feel like his Jhin was utterly forgettable in game number 1, sadly.
Yeah.
And so they are going to go on that tack instead, with a lot of Gumyushi's champions now taken away, because Jhin and Xayah are two of his favorites.
This is such a Taliyah first pick angle, I feel like.
Oh,
the Xin Zhao got banned by T1. They could have looked. I thought T1 was going to ban something else and say, okay, you get Taliyah, we get Xin Zhao, we like this. Or you get Xin Zhao, we get Taliyah. So I think this one is pretty like non-negotiable. That makes a lot of sense. But let's see what T1 are able to get here in return. As you know, there's no Vi here, there's no Xin Zhao. Maybe we'll see Faker look towards the Ahri pick, for example, one that he has gone to when a lot of those other picks are taken away, especially if the series goes deeper.
Yep, especially into Taliyah, we see a lot of our LCK mids opting in for the Ahri matchup.
For me, I'm more curious about what Guma's going to play.
Yeah.
Because we've seen him go to the Lucian, for example. We've seen when the champion pool gets thinned out, the Varus is gone, the Xayah is gone. He doesn't play Ezreal, he doesn't play Zeri, right? Nocturne for Owner does feel very Owner here in this draft. I thought perhaps he'd be looking towards a Viego instead, but wouldn't be picking it this early. But he wants to pick this one up here. Has some decent synergy with the Ahri, and is another champion that can impact the map globally, just like the Pantheon. So it's a great way to play your win cons, but looks like they're going to instead take the MF for Guma.
MF for Guma is not what I was expecting either. I kind of thought that we'd see like an R3 Lucian type angle after Lazy Feel picks up an Ezreal or something like that. But instead, it is the Misfortune, which we've seen have some positive performances and some negative ones.
What I really do not want to see is Kai'Sa into Misfortune. We've seen that tried so many times, and it is not really working. And they're going to go for the Ezreal instead. Lazy Feel has impressed us in some of his Ezreal games with really good team fighting, really good positioning, aggressive plays. Kind of like Diablo, kind of like Smash. Some of our younger AD carries really like to play this pick very aggressively, and has played a ton in Challengers, of course, so they have a ton of experience on it. What's the jungle pick going to be here? Could be Sponge on Viego, but instead, just going to look for the Leona really early in this draft.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Of course, Leona is often picked into Misfortune. You can interrupt the ultimate, things like that. Like, we've seen that, but picking a support this early is a little dangerous, especially when you're handing over counter pick opportunity to Carrier when there is still one pick left up and available.
Yeah, looks like they're still going to go for this Nocturne pick.
Okay.
Andel has played a lot of Leona. I feel like it's a pick he's very comfortable on, and perhaps that plus the fact that it's good into the MF and okay into the Rel is part of why they grabbed it. I think they'll ban the Rel now that the Nocturne's been picked up instead.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's support bans on DRX's side, and I was thinking jungle bans for T1, but instead they're going to focus out Rich. Of course, Rich did like to gravitate towards the Ambassador, definitely earlier in the season at least.
It's very good into Misfortune as well, especially when you don't have a tank jungler. Just really easy to get on top of her, whether with your ult or just by dashing several times to close that gap, while the Misfortune is very immobile. So I do like that ban, but I do think something like a Viego ban makes sense here. Because you look for the pick with Leona, Taliyah, Viego gets that kill, you get the reset. That kind of fight seems pretty obvious here for the side of DRX. Although Viego's been very polarizing a pick. The Wukong, similar situation, obviously not with the resets, but the follow-up to that single target is very, very strong. Great into Misfortune as well.
I think it's a really smart ban, actually. I think Wukong would be kind of devastating if DRX are able to get their hands on it. There's the Rel you were talking about, so the couple of support bans for DRX, they do get rid of these.
It's going to get a little bit weird. I think you just have to play Nautilus here.
Yep.
And luckily, because this Leona was so face-up, they could grab it early. Considering a Bard, and even potentially... I mean, this pick is so strong into Leona, but I think the Nautilus is the safest one, especially into Ezreal. You can guarantee you get that big hit, that CC onto the Ezreal no matter what, even if he shifts away.
Yeah.
I think the Elise is better for lane control, and I really am not a big fan of blind Elise, but I felt like in this scenario, especially when you have the Ahri, and the Nocturne, it was a cool idea, but Nautilus much safer, much more robust.
Yeah, does now mean that Doran can kind of play anything as well because you have Engage coming out of the bottom side of the map. I think what they were thinking about was like, oh, well, we'll just put Doran on Ornn or Sion or something like that. But then maybe he's not going to have the greatest of matchups if he does want to do that. So there's the Viego that you were talking about. I'm worried about the Paperman. I feel like Viego hasn't found too many inroads so far.
Call me crazy, but this was not what I was going to say. I was going to say, I feel like Cassante kind of goes hard here for DRX.
I mean, Rich has been pretty amazing on his Sion. From the other victories that we've seen from DRX, a lot of it has been to do with this guy's Sion, as the answer from Doran will be this Camille. Camille Nocturne, pretty powerful, right? You can play out these 1-3-1s pretty devastatingly.
It's great
in side lanes. Yeah, exactly right.
Key pick in a lot of these drafts because it just puts a hole in the top side of the map.
Yeah, it can happen. Rich did show us that sometimes it's not a hole. Sometimes it is just so much health that you cannot get through it. And we'll see whether DRX can channel some of that or whether T1 just once again are gonna look better. Let's dive into the Rift.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 2 of DRX versus T1. And I do want to address a cute little fan sign as well that was up there before. I didn't read the whole thing because, of course, my Korean is not fantastic, but it basically said, sorry, Mom and Dad, but I had to go and watch T1 on Parents' Day, which was very, very cute. Happy Parents' Day to all of the parents out there. I need to send my mom a message. I kind of forgot.
Mother's Day and Father's Day haven't happened yet. For the US times, at least.
Yeah, for Australia, Mother's Day is in 4 days. So it's on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's the same in the US.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure.
I always thought that they were a bit different. Or is it like Father's Day is different, but Mother's Day is the same? As now Faker could be in a little bit of trouble here, as some rocks are being flung at him. Carrier moves over. Gumishi's here as well, and the flash has to come out. The Ignite was traded for it, as Carrier also taking a little bit of damage. And already, DRX finding some angles.
Well, this is really rough for Faker, even though like he lives, he doesn't have flash, and now Yukal has a huge health advantage, and he's just going to start throwing rocks. Although most of those didn't hit. But he is going to try to trade aggressively and look for level 2 first and try to put the pressure onto Faker. So it's a big win here at level 1 for DRX.
Yeah. Yukal is going to miss a bit of this farm.
Owner.
The greatest, and Owner is going to come on over for a very aggressive invade.
Yeah, looking to potentially set up some vertical jungling. Also has that ward, so knows exactly where Sponge is on his pathing, which is the normal Raptor start into the red buff.
Yeah, it's like Raptor Krugs red. It's interesting.
Yeah, I did go Krugs first for some reason. And by the way, we'll clear his bottom side, but if he doesn't suss this out, he'd be in trouble. It was a ward on the Raptors, so that doesn't tell him guaranteed, but he might have some sort of idea depending on how Owner left the pit, but he probably pathed very well. Just going to go down and get his Wolves, which is going to, you know, not be the first sign, but after the Wolves, he will know, oh, okay, some of my jungle has been taken. Nice little start here, despite, you know, the lead in mid for DRX. He still gets away with it.
Yeah, you can see pings onto exactly where Sponge is. He gets the bad news. I think there was a ward in the Raptor pit of T1.
Yeah, there was.
Well. So I think that they should have probably known.
Owner could have, I don't know exactly how he walked. He could have walked. Yeah, he could have walked a weird way to make it look like he was going to do his normal red buff clear and then just went around.
Well, speaking of having a look for him, Sponge is going to move on over. His hook is going to connect here by Carrier. Good exchange onto Lazyfield. Make it rain, also making things tough. But Andil, he's still going in. The Eclipse proc actually doing a fair bit of work there as Owner wanting to go aggressive. Doesn't get the attack speed from the spell shield because Sponge missed. But him and Yukal still wanting to go aggressive. And this ward, actually very high value as Sponge just steals away the blue. So answers Owner's aggression. Carrier not quite able to get up there in time as Andil and Lazyfield also moving in. The coordination from DRX looking a little better in this game.
Yeah, just really great coordination in the early game. Looking for the level 1 to Faker. Scouting out, albeit slowly, the steal of the jungle, going straight cross-map to Owner's jungle, having the burst with the Q-Smite there for Sponge, protecting him to allow that play to happen.
Oh, Doran going in, on to Rich here. This Camille, kind of deadly, doesn't have a lot of mana. And Rich is still just going to go back home.
Yeah, you know, Doran is such a fitting name because he either is Doran's Blade or he's Doran's Shield in the top lane, right? And I feel like the game has been telling me for so long that you should only buy Doran's Shield. But recently, I've been seeing Doran Blade pop up. I've been seeing him be a little bit more aggressive. I'm finding some success. He had a great time last game around.
I love that the irony is that he bought a Doran Shield.
Yeah.
In this game as well.
I know, but now he's got a Sheen.
Yeah, that's looking a little bit more bladey. As Yuka will get charmed. Does pick up this wave though, as Faker will be going back home and actually navigated the lane just fine. Of course, Yuka sitting on a couple of biscuits and a couple of potions. Biscuits not necessarily as crazy as they used to be, but still going to be feeling okay as far as sustain is concerned. And Faker now able to teleport back in. Refillable potion refilled is what you want to see. Or is it just filled because it's like the first time that he's brought it back?
I think it's still refillable. Right?
Yeah.
Because even though it's
But he didn't
full,
fill it when he went back. He bought it.
Yeah, but it can be refilled, so I still think it's refillable.
Does Boris refill it for you before he gives it to you? Like, is it sort of like a...
I think it's
like if you get a bottle of water at a restaurant?
I think it's sealed on purchase. The sponge is up here, but can't do anything. So yeah, back to... Oh, hold up.
Yeah. Yukal not going to get hit by the Dustbringer as Seismic Shove comes through, but the Charm was in the air, and Yukal just walks towards Faker and dies.
Yeah, that looked very funny. It almost looked like the Charm just had an insanely long duration, but it was Charm into Fear.
Yeah, and also he got feared with Phase Rush procced, and so he walked very, very far.
Yeah, that's very funny. He could have flashed the Charm, but thought his Seismic Shove would be enough to buy the space he needed there. And considering Faker already had his flash down, I do feel like you could flash that and be totally fine.
Yep.
Decided not to. Played it greedy. Sponge is going to come over here and potentially challenge this Drake, but with no mid-prior, the wave crashing, I don't think this is realistic.
Well, there's a bit of a battle towards the bottom side as Carrier going down very, very low. Faker thinking about moving on over to defend that one. There's level 5s for both of our junglers. Yukal will be able to skate his way over here. The Dragon is down low. It will be a smite fight, won by Ona for now, as he'll have to flash to get himself out of the way. But Andil, he's going to follow him. The Weaver's Wall comes in, and they all pile in on top of the Nocturne. And he will be seismically shoved into the Death Chamber. Faker now moving back towards mid, and DRX will be able to try and find some of the spoils. As Sponge transforming into Ona will be able to take his Gromp.
These are the Andil games, you know, where you're like, oh, I see the angles. I see why this guy got his starting position back, because they're looking for more here now into the bottom lane.
Oh dear, there's a flash immediately by Gumayusi actually, as Carrier is the one that's going down very low. Andil able to get himself out of there, but Sponge is just dead, and that was a whoopsie.
I mean, trying to dive in Nautilus can be very difficult, as we know. And as DRX were reminded,
DRX really are a 1 foot forward, 1 foot back type team, are they not?
Yeah, it's very often. I did really like the Dragon play, though.
Yeah, you see, like that was great. And then they go and just run underneath the outer turret. And so that was the not great. And so now we're back on the great side of it.
It's really funny that, funny, sad, whatever, it's interesting, let's say, that I feel like DRX's more coordinated shot calling seems to be a double-edged sword in some of these situations. Like the Baron call last game, where they had things set up too well to try to do everything they thought. They're like, oh, okay, we can both do the Baron and win the team fight and block Owner out, and then they died there because they're so confident they can do it. In this case, like, oh, we're so ready to win this Dragon fight, and then, oh my god, we can actually coordinate this dive down here in the bottom lane as well. When could have just been happy with the dive and maybe zoning away the bottom duo instead. Sponge is going to be able to take this first grub without using Smite.
Yeah, so grabs that one. Carrier just going to stun up Andil just for a moment as he's pulling him back in, being a little bit frustrating, and Andil going aggressive. Doran moving over as Rich trying to defend, but the Q finds absolutely no one, and Andil is just dead. Can they get anything in response? That's the question, as Seismic Shove will connect onto Gumayusi, and Rich, he's going to survive. They're looking a little worse for wear. Teleport has just come back up, though, as the Grubs move back into the pit. Lazy Feel positioned here in this mid lane. But I don't think they're going to be able to defend as these grubs are taken by T1. They should be able to get 2 of them, as never mind.
I don't know if they should, but they're going to.
Yep, Carrier sitting in this brush here. True Shot Barrage not going to hit anyone. And there are both of those grubs going down. In goes the Scion as he's trying to get rid of Gumayusi, and that is an engage onto Lazy Feel if ever I've seen one. He just evaporates. Andal going aggressive, and Yukal trying to find a few windows as there's the flash in from Doran. Hextech ultimatum onto Sponge, but now he's just in the Thunderdome by himself. T1 kind of playing it well, being able to take one of them, but they lose their AD carry as well. And finally, they're able to take down Sponge. Rich now coming on in. He's now joining the rest of T1. These health bars are so low, but nothing's landing from DRX. They can't get any of the kills.
They don't have enough damage here. Without Lazy Feel, I just don't think you can win that longer skirmish. Ends up being a trade, but a trade up for T1 again. Now 2,000 gold ahead in this game. Faker sitting on 3 kills and 6 stacks of Dark Seal.
Man, it looked like the idea from DRX in some of these moments was good, but I guess losing Andal here was unnecessary.
Well, Faker can also keep Lazy Feel out of the initial part of the fight.
Oh no, Mystic Shot going wide is a disaster, and Gumayusi walks up to him and shoots him. Oh dear.
Well, this was unfortunately becoming a bit of a trend in this series. Not the upward trend, not the good trend. A trend you would like to avoid, as in this case, just a straight up 1v1.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think in challengers you don't necessarily get punished as hard in moments like this, especially with the stuff we were seeing from Jin. We just don't see that level of coordination, the punish plays coming through from T1. Here, don't you dare. Don't you dare shift in!
Well, he sidesteps, but then that Mystic Shot missing, I don't even think would have mattered.
Yeah, he didn't have flash, so Guma's like, well, I channeled this on you. And you shifted in, so you can't get out.
That was a little unfortunate.
We kind of knew before we saw the replay that one was going to transpire.
Yeah, we saw the real thing at the end there, and so was comfortable to surmise. Not comfortable to watch again as that max range hook, just gorgeous. Down goes Mr. Sponge. He couldn't even flash or ult or anything. He was just dead.
Is it a bit of a jungle gap series? Like every single T1 series recently?
Yeah,
Owner just kind of runs the rift, and Faker and Owner play well together, and T1 just win the game?
It's looking a little like that. However, I would probably put a little bit more responsibility towards DRX and the way that they've been kind of playing this one out, because it feels a little bit like after that first skirmish was lost, DRX have been, I guess, playing a little less measured.
It's just, I really feel that the confidence with which DRX are playing with is so much better than it has been. But sometimes it's okay to be a little bit nervous about making some decisions.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, there's a difference between confidence and recklessness.
Yeah, there's starting to give me some like 2022 Live Sandbox feels right now with only go in, only fight, and force every fight, and also try to greed in every lane.
And honestly, it's kind of weird because it makes me think about 2022 DRX.
Yeah, there's also that.
In the times where they weren't winning Worlds, the times where they were losing every game in the LCK. And it was kind of flipped extraordinarily early, and it had oftentimes someone playing Viego in the jungle as well. And that has continued to be a little bit of a problem here. Solo player will be able to lock down Faker. Seismic Shove is some nice chain CC. There we go. Here's the uptick from the DRX. And now, let's see whether the down tick is happening immediately. The flash hook, not going to quite find the mark, but I don't think they're out of the woods just yet as, oh god, depth charge going to come on through as Yukal's in trouble. Does have to flash and does do so, but the double up almost murders both of them. Does manage to get the kill onto Yukal, and there we go. The ebbs and flows of DRX, ladies and gentlemen. They get a kill onto Faker, and then they lose 2.
Yeah, well, it's the traditional Faker dies, but then you win the fight style is over here. Unstoppable
until hit the wall.
Yeah, there's a stoppable moment there.
A little stoppable.
Slightly stoppable.
I think Faker is pretty charming, and he is going to prove that as Rich just going to get taken out. The Zombie Scion going to see what he can do about this wave, and Gumayusi down towards the bottom side. This is really gone out of control at a very, very brisk pace.
Yeah, the train is off the rails, and the train on Scion was stopped, actually, in fact, on the rails. Faker initially went away from it because he was like, I know they're going to dive me, but then he called to his teammates, okay, we have the faster rotation. We have Nocturne. We have Nocturne ult. So I'm actually going to stay here and bait them into this. I don't think T1 got as much out of this as they thought they were going to. I think they thought they were going to kill 3, but they end up still having a huge win here, and Guma gets the double up and end up taking out Andil on the exchange. Keria, not sure if he really wanted that dredge line to connect, but over here, once again, just, you know, teleport advantage. Yeah. Faker shows up, Rich is trading, kind of forgot about that teleport, and tries to run away, but is stopped. And
yeah, kind of forgot about the Hextech ultimatum as well, I think.
Yeah.
But Faker literally just respawned, and to get back out onto the map, he heads into the top lane and gets a kill onto the Scion. That is pretty efficient pathing here from the mid laner.
He is very ahead on the Ahri.
Yes.
And he's looking for his second item pretty soon here. The gold lead is starting to kind of multiplicatively increase. It's starting to exponentially grow. It's starting to be a...
It's going big.
It's going big, yeah. And last time it went a little bit big, and then there were some mistakes from T1.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's going to happen this time.
Yeah, this is going big much faster. You're exactly right. I think I probably could use some of your fancy words to describe it, but I think going big is really telling the story here.
You don't want to go small with the gold lead. You want to go big.
No.
T1 mastered that years ago.
And I just don't want to go too big on the words that I'm using to describe how big it is. I think just big is enough. As Doran is going to go in onto Rich here. I don't know what I was talking about there. As okay, Faker not going to get shoved. And there is the paranoia. Down goes Yukal. And DRX, it's just really feeling like they're looking a little lifeless here in this game.
It's just hard when you're behind into this comp because Nocturne can be everywhere. Ahri can follow up so quickly. And now trying to even contest for this Herald feels like a pipe dream.
Yeah, Laserfield going to get engaged on here as he does cleanse. Tries to get out, depth charge following him there, but he invests the flash to try and keep himself alive. Sponge standing on so much vision as they do get rid of the Rift Herald. Dredge line goes wide, so does the Charm. T1, they're happy with what they got though, as Doran just really starting to run away with this side lane. That was sort of going to be an inevitability here towards this bottom side. But
I mean, they didn't have any control over the objective. They wanted to try to maybe see if T1 was going to make a mistake, fight into them. But Trinity Force versus a... Speaking of going big, Guma's got the big F sword in his inventory, and he was ready to fight that. And it's just moments like this where you kind of forget Nocturne can be in your side lane instantaneously, but if you just play respectfully, then you just lose control.
Oh, I've seen this play before, as this time, Faker does not get stunned up by the Solar Flare.
TP.
And Andil is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Teleport comes in from Doran, as Kumiyushi may even delivered the kill. Never mind, it goes to the GOAT. Faker's like,
so like I said before, this is the kind of game with Andil where you're wondering, like, maybe is Pleta coming in the next series? No, I'm being facetious, I'm being mean, but he has tried to make so many plays, and it's so hard when there's a global on the other side, when Faker has the charm there, he's got the turret he can play through, they're trying to catch the king, and unfortunately they kind of keep missing because it's just on the slippery Ahri. They're trying to do anything they can from behind. And then when you fail, the Leona is going to die 4 times, but...
yeah. Also, I don't think... There's just no real positives to speak of here at the moment. Oh, they did get a dragon. So there's that, as Doran is going to take a turret shot or 2. Never mind, he's got a hook shot, so he's just fine. Faker now getting to work here towards his bottom side. They already have feats of strength, but if they didn't, they could get them again by locking down that first turret. There it goes. And even more money into the coffers of T1. Gumayushi moving forward towards Lazyfield, who's just trying to take down minions in this mid lane. Get to that 2-item spike that's feeling a little delayed at this point in time.
I mean, this is just an attempt to kill Faker that does not work. Even though he gets stunned by the rocks, Yukal is like, well, I'm not going in on this. Unfortunately, that is a big Ahri. He also went big. So Yukal just abandons Andil, and Andil just tries to buy time.
Yep.
Why they keep coming at me?
Yeah, what are they doing? And the thing is, I think a lot of people have learnt that focusing Faker in a side lane to the detriment of everything else is generally not a great strategy, as Doran looks for Sponge, and it doesn't work.
This could backfire.
I think it may already have backfired, as Faker is also dead. Sponge grabs another reset. This is where it's fine.
Okay.
As T1 take down the inner turret and this one as well.
Faker die inside and you get the cross map win is another archetype, because there's like Faker die inside, win the team fight. There's Faker die inside in the cross map. There's also Faker teleport to die and win the cross map.
So this is the new T1 though with Doran. So it's Doran die inside, Faker come join him to die inside while they destroy multiple turrets elsewhere on the map.
Faker is just a bro, you know?
Exactly.
He wasn't going to leave Doran out alone. No way.
No. And Doran was out, by the way, guys. And then he just kind of messes up the hook shot as he stuns Rich and then flashes in the face of Sponge.
There was probably, in realistic talk, like there was probably a split call here or a indecisive call. Like Faker's like, I think I could TP on it, and Doran's like, okay, I'm going back in, but the TP came very late. And
yeah. I think maybe it was just a let's see whether it works, and then they'll shelve that strategy and let's not do that anymore.
There's a small dip in the gold lead there as showcased, so that's a positive for DRX, where everything else is coming up a little bit negative. A gold lead for Rich, which is pretty interesting considering the matchup, but...
I mean, if this game goes infinite time, DRX could win. So maybe they, like, if they still have... like base turrets, they're already missing one, so it's already not going so well.
I mean,
but like if it goes really, really long, like the Scion will be impossible to kill. It's only Faker that does magic damage on this squad, and Ari isn't necessarily known for being super good at cutting down front line.
I mean, Malignance and the
Leandri certainly does help, but
I think it's the right build here. Just don't know if the game is going infinite time, especially because Guma got his 2-item spike and LazyField's still working on it. Maybe, you know, a few minutes, maybe a minute or two away from getting that right now. You know, it's pretty low, or pretty late 2-item spike to be hit for LazyField if he doesn't get it in the next minute or so, but he still will have it. So the problem is that they can't get control over the map to fight for objectives, and they keep getting picked in sides, and they keep losing turrets. You know, T1 has 5 turrets. They got the inhibitor turret.
Yeah.
So that's the part of the game that's making me feel like it's not going infinite time.
Oh yeah, like it's almost definitely not. However, I wanted to kind of like take a moment to mention like a scaling possibility, and then get back to reality immediately afterwards, because it just feels to me that I don't even think the compositions are all that relevant. It feels like DRX just aren't playing as well as what we saw of them in previous games, right? This is the team that managed to stop the Bros that were, you know, on a relatively decent streak.
I mean, Bro beat T1.
Right. And DRX not quite being able to do so here, as the Otacon has been started. Can DRX find any angles here as the Paranoia comes on through, and down goes Yukal once again. This guy's Talia has looked great. But I'm starting to doubt my memory right now.
Unfortunately, I think the issue is just you're not allowed to be by yourself ever into this Nocturne, even if they are doing Otacon, because they'll just collapse on you, and Owner just so good at that. And now they can just go straight back to the Otacon. Keria on this really cool flank here as well, as Faker shows up with his ult.
Yep, Depth Charge going to get a couple of knockups here as Sponge being held out of the Otacon pit. Keria will be taken out though, and now T1 rotating over yet again. Scion finds the knockup as Doran is dead once more. And now Faker just doing what he can to try and stay in this, and maybe I spoke too soon. The flash to try and get the knockup, but it's a great spell shield, and now Ona looking to try and turn it. This Scion is just massive on this front line though, and Yukal has respawned. The wall comes on down, Ona is singled out, and Rich turned into a zombie, but I think he's well and truly done his job, and I take it all back. Maybe I did really need to talk about that scaling aspect. This Scion starting to look a bit strong.
Also, I think T1, I really liked Keria's flank idea, but they didn't collapse with him, and the whole team was disconnected on his depth charge they dropped. It was kind of similar to what DRX did in Game 1 on their Baron, where they're like trying to hold Otacon, Keria's on this flank. Not this flank, this is where they kill Yukal first, but when we actually go to the next one, because this was great. Everything about this is totally fine. Yep, this is good. This one, Keria's on a really deep flank. Faker isn't here yet, and they don't collapse very well. Like, the Otacon's at half health. Faker is still not here. The TP is there, so he's like, I don't know about going in on that. So Keria ends up dying, and then they still commit in further. So it was just a very broken up fight here, and the ult from Guma is just way too late to layer on top of everything else. I think this is a nice win here for DRX, but really kind of T1 botched the execution of holding the Otacon there. And now DRX are going to get it.
Yeah, the response is this Otacon as Paranoia does come down. That is Sponge securing it. As now Doran trying to get in there. Owner is well and truly in there. I don't know about whether he wanted to be. As the charm comes down, Faker is cutting them all down. Both of the DPS have been eliminated. And Faker is just looking to kill everyone. Gumayusi grabs a piece of it, and Andil is going to be going down next. Gumayusi trying to get out of the way of Rich, who's just not someone that he is able to kill. And Faker will hunt down this Leona. T1, the punishment was immediate, as the Foxfire is going to be able to cut him out, as Gumayusi just spending some time outside of the queue. And yeah, as you can see, Gumayusi does need armor penetration if he ever wants to kill Sion. Look at that. Rich cannot die, by the way, guys, basically, as finally he does go down. And there goes
he gets a double?
Gumayusi. Does he get a double?
No, I don't think so.
The health bar is going down lower and lower and lower, and Carrier will be able to secure it. So there we go. Thankfully, the kill actually did come through. But we're starting to see the power of this Sion.
Yeah, also starting to see the power of just how good Faker is in these types of fights. And
yeah, look at this.
Slashes for the charm on the lazy field, deletes both carries, and then the fight is over. I don't care how tanky you are. You don't win these when the rest of the team is live. Now, you do win the kind of 1v2 against Guma if he stays too close, and that did happen. As Faker chased him down with the Foxfire, but consider also how close, like, DRX have to go for the Otacon, right? But Owner, if he's just there a little bit faster, he might have actually been able to get the Smite Seal. Might have just been a flip. You know, he has his ultimate, they get the vision just barely in time. This is just very silly. He unfortunately channeled his ult just too close to Rich there.
It felt like it was the Titan's Wrath from Carrier that actually managed to do damage to Sion, because that's like on-hit magic damage. As Carrier does hit the 5,000 assists, and he's also rewarded with a kill for his efforts, as we saw there towards the top side. As Doran getting closed in on here by Yukal, as over the wall goes Sponge. Doran is going to then flash into Andil and gets immediately stunned. So there is a nice little advantage to be taken by DRX.
Rich TPing in. They don't want to turn this into a Baron call.
Yeah, how do you feel about a 4v5 Baron start?
Well, I've seen this before, but I think this time they'll make better decisions about it, right? This time they're all in the pit. Faker flank.
Yeah. I'm all about that optimism as well, as in goes Carrier looking for that angle. Once again, Yukal is singled out and destroyed, and T1 just making it an uncomfortable time in the Baron pit. This time it's an immediate triple kill for Faker. Can he find more? The answer is absolutely, as the GOAT may pick up a Penta, and in fact, he almost definitely will. He's the only one that does damage to the Sion, so there's the Pentakill for Faker.
Faker with a Penta, and it's just perfect play on the Sari. 15 kills. And once again, he doesn't care about your front line. He doesn't care about your Sion. He's finding those damage dealers in the back, goes to the back of the pit, and deletes them instantly. Such great play on an iconic pick for Faker. He has so many of those. But the Ahri, we knew it was coming in the draft. They pull out Owner's Nocturne. They work together so incredibly well. And it's just been these two players against every single team, and Owner's picked up a lot of these POMs. I think it's going to be a split vote this time around with Faker's Ahri performance. It all starts off with Doran getting caught right. Then they turn to the Baron. Watch, you'll see Rich TP right after this on the Sion, because he's like, all right, we have to look for the Baron. We have to look for something here. Watch Faker. Just only watch Faker. And when the Nocturne holds up, he closes the gap, hits the charm onto Yukal, goes on to Lazy Field, and they just collapse on him and kill him. It's just great play from Faker and the whole team. I mean, Owner turns off the lights, and yeah, you have a Sion as your front line, but they just kind of skipped it. They were like, all right, we'll just run past him.
Well, their entire front line was doing basically nothing the whole fight. Andil was standing in a brush. He spent the whole time just walking around. As Faker looking pretty chuffed with the pentakill there. And, oh man, it's just frustrating, Wolf, because DRX, we just watched them do it in the last game. You mentioned it before as they were going for the Baron. We're like, surely they're going to learn. No.
Not really.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely needed to look for the fight in this case, and trying to hold the Baron and try to rush it down, trying to burn it was unfortunately not the call, especially into this comp where Owner is just going to zoom through, turn the lights off. Maybe they'll catch him unawares. Nope.
They might catch him aware.
Yeah, he's aware.
That could be the way. That's all right, Spell Shield, not going to get that value as the knockup does come on in. The crash into the Nocturne as True Shot Barrage doesn't connect, but now the bullet time is going to cut down Sponge so quickly. Lazy Field, he's not getting out of there. And down he goes. T1 just a little bit too far ahead now as Yukal, he's going to come in, but he's kind of like Donald Glover, holding the pizza with his house on fire. As Rich is a zombie, and Faker is not even going to let Yukal get out of this one. He is going to get charmed and destroyed. There's another ace for T1. And you've got a bit of a palindrome when it comes to the score lines here. 13-31. T1 very happy about that as they're looking to close this one out 2-0 right now.
Yep, that's the end of that. Owner's like, all right, Xinjiao got our button, can't get hurt. Pantheon got a shield, can't get hurt. He's like, Nocturne is spell shield close enough.
Yeah.